Okay. So today we'll continue where we stopped the other day. Let me see, where did my slide go to? Oh, right. Can you see the slide? Can you see the screen? Okay. So you have done this. You did this small exercise. Okay. And okay, before we talk about today's particular topic, I left one important thing actually last week. If you manage to read the text, okay, textbook, you probably find this explanation a little bit about why we actually need to study international business, and the context or the framework that we should look into when we study international business. So this is called the cage model. Okay, the cage model, if you can read here. Okay, let me just hide this. So the cage model developed by Pankaj Ganawat of this business school in Barcelona. So he uses this cage model, CAGE. It's very simple actually. It's when you talk about international business, you know, we need to cross boundaries. When you cross boundaries, there'll be cultural differences. There'll be because of religion, because of language and social values. And we have a chapter that actually focuses on the importance of these cultural differences. And administrative distance. So the next one is A. So A is administrative distance, because you know the difference in distance in terms of headquarters and the country in which you do business will result into many differences. For example, currency, political differences, or even attitudes towards the role of private sector and the role of public sector. Okay, so that's the second what you call in the model CAGE. G is geographic distance. So geographic distance, there's a different administrative distance because you know the management in the headquarters will have communication not barriers, but you need time to actually communicate, and you need to impose your system, you need to impose your procedures. So administratively there is a distance between one country and another country, okay, as because of this geographic distance. I mean, because of physical communication and transportation, what do you call this, but it can be improved by this physical communication and transportation link between countries. Okay, so that will allow the connectedness of countries, and that's that's what's happening today, because digitalization has actually make us very close and do business very fast. E-commerce, everything online, everything online. Future will have this digital currency, then that's the end of the world basically. digital currency. So there is no more national banks, anyone can set up your own currency. It's scary actually to talk about the future. The future is very scary. That's what I can see. And the other factor is E, economic factors. So you can use this model whenever you want to actually analyze how we are going to actually approach, how we are going to solve our international business problems. How are you going to make decisions on our international business activities? Okay. So if you read here, economic distance refers to the differences in economic resources base of countries. France have, a world-class perfume industry, world-class wine industry, France. Okay, But of course, I don't drink, I don't drink alcohol, but it is known, right? France is, what do you know about Malaysia? Okay, Norian, what is Malaysia known for economically? You don't know, okay.
Actually, I don't know.
You know nothing, because we are we are a very small country, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the resources available and has been innovated, so although these natural resources are component of economic distance, human resources, infrastructure, creation of new knowledge are in fact much more important causes of economic distance, economic factors. So we'll look into that, okay. This so I hope you will try and you can read this back and see how we can actually improve and make decisions on our global business activities. Okay, question? Any question? Right. You see, purchasing labor intensive input from countries where wages are low to reduce the cost. That's what I'm from a developing country, so we have a certain perception on developed countries, as well as you have a different perception on developing countries. But developed countries have always been used the developing countries for cheap labor. That's why you manufacture in China, you manufacture in what do you call, future is Africa. Africa is this next frontier of exploitation and not exploitation. Looking for increased business growth. Okay, increased business growth. Right. So I'm going to move on. This is what I just wanted to mention, things that I didn't mention last week. Okay, so this is the case model basically. Okay, so what today I want to move on is the other what do you call, two objectives, which is actually the so-called international business activity. Some of this you already know. It is just probably a repetition or just enhancement. Another one is actually the reasons for growing global. Okay, the reason for global or globalization. Right, historically trading of goods by exporting and importing activities. So traditionally, or even historically, this is the Silk Road, major trade route. No, sorry, wrong spell. Silk Road, and also the you can see the red, which is actually the land, okay, and also the sea. And in fact, Malaya at that time was known to be, if you've heard of Malacca. Malacca is actually one of the biggest ports. It was invaded by Portuguese in 1453. Okay, Malacca. You do not know Malaysia, but you know Malacca. We were famous for our, wood. Nice smelling wood. We're very, known for our spices, which is here. You can see here. So this is, I pick up from the internet. Okay, you can Google for yourself. If you see here, this is history. This is true. Okay, we can say wood, gems, and slaves from Britain. Okay, you see, when I saw this, I say, yeah, this was the export of people during that time. Okay, slaves from North Africa going to to the wine, honey, and what do you call, from Greece. Learning. So these are the export and imports from Arabia, perfumes from this place. For example, Egypt. Egypt is known for its cotton. Okay, Egyptian cotton. From India, spices and so on. So historically, export trading is nothing new. Globalization is nothing new. Only things that we have a contemporary globalization. So what are the contemporary global business activities? What is currently being used by many corporations, many companies to actually do business on a global basis? So we have this exporting, which is, we have been doing this since since mankind exists probably. Selling of products made in one's own country for use or resale in other countries. Okay, or or that is exporting, and the other one is importing. Okay. But of course, during the ancient ages, there were probably less of services. There were much more of goods, like tangible products. Okay, so exporting and importing activities, which are divided into so-called merchandise, okay, merchandise exports and imports is visible trade, things we can actually, physically see. Okay, and the other one is actually service exports and imports. These are invisible trades. Okay, but they exist today. There's a lot of invisible trades. The transfer of funds. How do you, transfer? For example, how do you transfer money to Sudan? Okay, if you do business with Sudan, Sarah, how do you transfer money to Sudan? Have you any idea? Have you any idea? If I set up a factory in Sudan, how do I?
I don't really know, honestly, but I think that I would use I don't know, the different businesses like Western Union or MoneyGram. These kind of
probably
things.
MoneyGram or Western Union, or you bring in hard cash, basically hard cash.
Oh, yes, also. But I think that how can we bring cash though? Because in airport there is a.
There are, of course there. Okay, what's the limit of carrying cash? Do you know? Do you know? Okay, and so this is very straightforward. You can understand. Export import is very straightforward. Of course, the process of all this documentation is actually very tedious, very tedious. If the company wants to actually export, and there are documents that need to be exchanged and sent to the banks, if there is formal banks in the country, and there are letters of credit and so on. So they need to actually have this documentation before the products are being sent. Once it being arrived, payment. So this process of actual export and import is actually not really easy. Okay, and we're entering the customs of the country. The customs doesn't allow the containers to be released, or even the processing time at the port. Okay, some countries are very fast, some countries are very slow. Singapore is one of the fastest, in fact, one of the fastest, most efficient export ports in the world. Or even, if I'm not mistaken, Amsterdam. Okay, so there are ports which are slow. So, do you want to do a country in which the process of going through the custom is not meeting your requirements? Okay, so exporting is actually, if you could look at some statistics, okay, some statistics in the book as well. So export of goods and services as percentage of GDP. So trade is important for firm or companies. For example, Boeing sales 70% sales to foreign customers. So on a firm to firm basis, for example, Boeing sells their airplanes to Malaysia Airlines, for example, or even to Garuda Indonesia or Cathay Pacific, okay, or even or Airbus, okay. So trading is important to firm as well as countries. Why trading is important to countries? Because it will actually create growth, wealth, and also survival. Survival means you will be able to create, sustain the country's existence. Okay, if you have read about Sri Lanka, okay, if you have read about it, do you know anything about Sri Lanka? Recent news? Any one of you? Sarah, do you know? Probably if you, after this you Google, Sri Lanka has actually, the country has gone bankrupt because a lot of the investments are actually from China. And China, they take loan from China, and now they cannot repay back their loan to China. So it's actually, so they are surrendering their sovereignty to China. So this is modern days colonization, okay? So that's why the Americans are very afraid of the Chinese. The Chinese actually have very powerful monetary, strength. They can actually, probably you are not interested in this, but this is what is happening in some countries, okay? But of course, France won't be affected because you're already quite, I don't know. I'm not very detailed about France, okay? Even Malaysia also is going to be affected because we have a lot of loans with China. But the politicians are not, well, they think about political survival. They don't think about the country survival, okay? So trade is important for countries as well, okay? So that's the first two, trade, export and import, okay? Other activities which are very important in global business is foreign direct investments, FDI, and also foreign portfolio investments. So what is it? It's actually capital is flow from one place to another. Okay, because some countries have a lot of cash, so they can actually invest in other countries. Foreign direct investment are investment made for the purpose of controlling property or assets or companies located in foreign host countries. So this is the very important term to remember. Home country. For example, France, if they invest in Malaysia, so you are the home country, and the host country is Malaysia, country to which investment flows. Okay, so if you supply Malaysia with, your military equipments, so we buy from France a lot of military equipments. So that is, the foreign direct investments that is actually, happening on a global. Military expenditure is actually very high, okay, in terms of international business. Arms sales between one country to another, that's also international business. Right now, there is a war between Ukraine and Russia. Whichever side you are supporting is up to you. But it's benefiting America, it's benefiting US, it's benefiting France, it's benefiting all those countries which are producing weapons of war. But of course, Russia have their own technology to produce their own weapons and nuclear power, okay? Let's face it, this is reality. This is the reality of the world today. Everyone wants to be in power, everyone wants to show power. But I think this is my personal opinion. You can disagree. It's okay, you can disagree with me. No problem. All the war in the world has been created by America. If you go to Vietnam is peaceful today, but right until 1974, because Vietnam is just near to Malaysia, it's our border, our place here. So 1960s until 74, there was what was the war about? There's nothing, Now Vietnam is prospering. Okay, what's left of Afghanistan? Nothing. War doesn't result in anything. But of course, America wants oil. That's why they go to this country. They want oil to, fuel your economy. You need oil, you need energy to fuel the economy. But luckily, Malaysia, we have our own oil. We have. Do you know that Malaysia produces oil? Norian, do you know that we produce oil? No. You can Google Petronas. We have Petronas. Petronas is it's a Fortune 500 company. Petronas. We produce oil. Okay. So that is foreign direct investment. And of course, there is also portfolio investments. What do you mean by portfolio investment? When you buy foreign financial assets in terms of stocks, bonds, or certificate of deposits, for purposes other than control, you want to have share and you want to grow your business, or you want to actually make profit. Okay, so you have portfolio investment as well. All the the global stock market exchange, all the pension funds flowing from one country to another country. Okay, so the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. That's the world that we live in today. The rich become richer, the poor become poorer. The middle income are stuck in the middle. Okay, stuck in the middle. Malaysia is a stuck in the middle country. We know we are stuck in the middle income. Okay, any questions? So let's take a short, quiz. Let's take a short, Can you give me an example of FDI? To your best of knowledge, I'm not saying you know all, okay, but can you name something that you actually can call it as FDI, foreign direct investment, some kind of business that you actually call it as FDI. One of you give one example. Okay, Norian give one example, and then Sarah give one example. No right or wrong answer. Don't worry. It's just just something that you can think of.
I don't have the name of the company, but it can be like logistics.
Okay. So you say, okay, you want to okay, let's say it's a logistics business.
Yeah, for example.
Okay. I can tell you one company, Merck's, Evergreen. Have you heard of Merck's, Evergreen? Okay.
Evergreen,
Okay.
I know it.
Right. Okay. So can you think of one country having this, business and the home country where it actually originated?
I think I've seen Evergreen in Thailand.
Mm-hmm. So what is the home country? Which is the home country of Evergreen? Can you just Google and check which country? Can just Google, or do you know Sarah? Sarah, do you know Evergreen, the home country of Evergreen?
Isn't it Chinese?
It's Taiwan, probably, I think.
It's Taiwan.
I think it's Taiwan. Okay, you can check that out. Okay, let's assume it's Taiwan. So the home country is Taiwan, and they are going to invest in their port facilities or their container supply business. They probably the host country is probably in Singapore or in Malaysia, right? So that's one. There's many foreign direct investment. For example, if Toyota, they build a factory in Kentucky, US. Toyota has a new manufacturing plant. So that is also a foreign direct investment for America. But the home country, of course, Japan. Japan is the origin of the investor, basically. Okay, Sarah, Norian have given one example. Let's see. Sarah, you give one example. Don't worry. I mean, I like to get you involved so that you just don't become then just passive and cannot think of anything. Just Google Sarah.
I'm trying to think about it, but I don't have any other example that comes to my mind.
Because you say just now like Asus is making computer. So they have a factory in Mexico. Okay. So
yes.
So making computers. Okay. Okay. Let's just okay. And another one is computer manufacturing. Okay. Okay. So the home country is Taiwan. Again, is Taiwan. And it is investing in Mexico. You can check out the city. Whereas has it actually have a factory? You mentioned just now they have a factory in Singapore. What did they? Any other place that they have a factory?
Oh, they do in
China, I think.
Mainland China, yes. Mainland
they have
China,
a factory in China.
Also Czech Republic, I think.
Even Apple, that you mentioned just now, Apple they produce iPhone. The home country is US. They produce in China. Okay, so that is a foreign direct investment. That's why China is getting the largest FDI for the past probably 20 years. Foreign companies, they go to China. They are the manufacturing house of the world today. They are the manufacturing house of the world today. They produce cars for General Motors. They produce cars for Volkswagen. Volkswagen. They produce cars for Ford, for Toyota. They don't produce cars. They produce computers. They produce iPhone. They produce shoes. Nike. So they get all the FDI. What happened? They have all the FDI. They grow. They become richer and richer. If the leaders don't steal the money, if the leaders steal the money, then you don't. Okay. Then give me just one example of portfolio investment that you can think of. Portfolio investment.
Share and stocks.
Yeah,
maybe.
share and stocks, purchase of share and stocks. Where do you want to buy your shares? Which market? Which
for example, in the automobile industry.
In automotive manufacturers, basically automotive. So you want to buy some shares in BMW?
For example, Germany, like Volkswagen, maybe.
Volkswagen, or so for example, the pension funds of Malaysia, they buy these shares. So that is portfolio investment. Or even sukuks are bonds, Islamic bonds. Sukuk. Google that. You can Google that. Sukuk are actually Islamic bonds. Okay. So those kinds of portfolio investment are being done. Some big companies are actually just investing. They buy Warren Beatty, George Soros. All these are big names. Okay, right. So I just want to get you start to think about this. When you see this, this is an investment. These are foreign direct investment. Okay, these are for your portfolio. Okay, let's move on. So the next activity is actually licensing. Okay, where's my share slide? Okay, so licensing is actually, you can read that. A licensing agreement allows a company, a firm in one country to use all or some of the IP, intellectual property of a firm in a second country. So if I give the license for you to actually manufacture or use this technology of printing, or or making food or products or whatever. Okay, that is giving the rights, intellectual property rights of doing business in another place. The other one is franchising. This is very common today. Okay, any big franchise company in France, any brands? This is actually because there's a franchisor and a franchisee, so they use the brand name. You don't have to do marketing. For example, KFC's, McDonald's, all these food chain, Starbucks. What is from France? I don't have an idea. Any, Sarah? Any? Which is anything? Any? Like 7-Eleven used to be from US, right? 7-Eleven, but now there are also 7-Eleven. Okay, None from France that, or France is not known for this franchise and what do you call franchising activities. You're not sure? Anyway, you understand franchising, what they call activity between countries. So they let them operate in exchange for a royalty payment. Okay, so this depending on the arrangement. And then there is international management contracts, involve agreement in which a company in one country agrees to operate facilities or provide other management services for an agreed upon fee, like hotels, big chains hotels, Hilton, Marriott. Okay, so they have management services to actually allow the partners in the foreign country to actually run on behalf of them. But of course, they have to meet the standards of the the owner. Okay, the owner of running that business. Right. So this is also considered as business activities. So you can think of other examples. Now, how do we actually say it is how do you measure the extent of internalization? So the word is actually here. How do we actually say it is huge, it is big? Okay, so the extent of internalization is actually measured by it is known as what is known as modern times today. We call it multinational corporation, multinational enterprise, or even multinational organization. Okay, so the definition for multinational corporation, well, in the old ages, if you heard of the East Indies, okay, or the the British Dutch East Indies, so it's similar to that. If you have heard of that, those forms of doing trade at that time, but today in this contemporary period, so the multinational corporation engages in FDI. Obviously, they must have foreign direct investment that they actually involved in. They own their facilities. For example, you think of multinational, you think of Intel, for example. Intel produces microprocessors. They have a factory in Penang, in Malaysia. Okay, they have the factory until today. It is an MNC, Malaysian multinational corporation. It owns or controls value-adding activities. In fact, Petronas Malaysia is an MNC. Petronas, it has business in Vietnam. It produces, it has in Indonesia. It has businesses of oil and gas in South Africa, in Sudan. So more than one country buy resources, create goods, and sells in many countries as well. So from one country to many countries. So the control is mainly headquarters. So they coordinate from the headquarters, and they have subsidiaries. They need to make adjustments as necessary how they actually operate in different countries based on the the cultural differences, political differences, and so on. Also the legal framework of the country. So that is MNC. And a smaller version is the MNEs, okay, multinational enterprises, non-corporations, private companies, for example, but they do on a global basis. They do business. While not-for-profits are sometimes known as multinational organizations. Okay, multinational organization. Can you think of one example of one multinational? Or MNO, multinational organization. Can you give me?
WWF.
Where?
WWF.
World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah.
Yes. Protecting the wildlife. Yes, that is
Yeah.
MNO. The Red Cross is MNO, multinational organization. There, there are many other multinational. I don't know whether World Health Organization is multinational. This is actually managing our COVID pandemic today, okay? WHO, okay? Right, so the extent can be measured by this, and you can actually, if you look at this, the world's largest corporations in 2017, a bit old, but it's okay. Walmart, from 2007 is 379 billion US dollars, but in 2017 it's 500 billion. You see how much the revenues. Walmart is probably richer than some of the smaller states or even Malaysia, well, I'm not belittling my own country. I'm just trying to become, I'm trying to look at, what a waste that the rulers have done. BP, okay, any French company here? This is, I don't know where state, US, Chinese, Dutch, Japanese, German, BP, Netherlands, Apple, Samsung, Korea. Korea is actually a very recent phenomenon. When I was young, Korea is nothing. When I was in the 20s, 1980s, Korea is nothing, but it boomed in the 90s, and today is one of the, there were nothing. Japan was great at one time, but of course, Japan is still great, okay? But, that's why it's a waste, because Malaysia was one of the countries actually developed and got independent together with Taiwan, South Korea, Singapore, but we were left behind because of this, well, okay, I don't want to say. Because of many reasons, okay. Right, and of course the other Daimler, no French, okay. Any big French company? No, I'm not. I'm just trying to get from you.
You have the big group like Louis Vuitton.
Total is a big, yeah. Total is France, right?
Yeah,
Total.
you have Total too. Yeah.
Okay. So these are the world's largest corporation. Yes, Sarah?
No, I was just, I mean, Norian already said it, but probably
L'Oreal.
luxury.
Yeah, L'Oreal is a big, yeah. L'Oreal is
the French luxury brands. They're very famous, so I think that.
Yeah. If you probably, this is only how many companies? If you list up 500 companies, probably you can see, the existence of, French companies as well. Okay. So the next, you want to take a 5-minute break, or okay? Why don't you take a 5-minute break? Take 5 before I actually. This is the next topic that actually I'm going to finish off for today. So take 5, for you to grab. I'm fasting, but those who are not fasting, you can actually drink. Take 5, okay?
Me too.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, Norian, take 5. Recording, okay. So I will rewind, okay. So what is globalization? So the book gives this definition about globalization. You can find many definitions. You can even come up with your own definition. So it says it is the inexorable inexorable integration, keyword, integration of markets. Markets can, there are so many markets in the world that exist today. There are the North American market, there's the European EC market, there are the ASEAN market, okay, there are and recently there is this new, what do you call, Pacific region, So they integrate market, nation states, and technologies. Some countries don't have certain technologies, so you need to actually supply them the technologies, so that it is in a way enabling individuals, corporations, and nation states to reach around the world farther, faster, deeper, and cheaper than ever before. The setback is during COVID, so it disrupted globalization. When COVID happened, because of lockdown, because of countries being locked, and also there is no communication. There's only, we resort to this digital communication. I cannot meet you in person. I can only meet you in online, Norian. So I have to teach online. Okay, companies doing business, they manage their project online, but the project still have to be done. They need to install certain things, but the management, the engineers are all working online. All the oil and gas companies still have to do things, but on a slower basis. So there are setbacks of globalization. Of course, there are also criticisms of globalization as well, pros and cons of globalization. But in terms of business, okay, why globalization actually accelerated? Why is it? Because of the intensification of international trade. The breakdown of trade barriers, the reduction of taxes between countries. So this allow companies to actually go and invest in other places. Okay, so the international trade increased tremendously, and of course the growing importance of FDI, foreign direct investment. FDI, like what we mentioned just now, okay, like we discussed just now, flow of funds from one country to other countries. So the primary vehicle is international trade and international direct investment. The flow of fund, the flow of money, the flow of resources, the flow of technology. Technology have to flow between one country to another country. If not, you cannot. Globalization doesn't happen. Okay, right. So that is the current globalization. I do not know what will happen now. Okay, post COVID, do not know. But of course, if you look at this small track of history of 1960 to 2016, so there is a dramatic growth of international trade over the last several decades. So 1960, they only recorded goods, but the red line is actually goods and services. They started to record actually the total exports of goods and services. So if you notice in 2009, there is a reduction because of global recession. Trade volumes decrease. You can actually notice this. In fact, probably if the data is extended to 2020, 21, you can see it's a dip also, because a slight drop in trade, not slight, probably a lot. Okay, in terms of the COVID, the pandemic impact on international trade. So from 1960 to 2070, there is a triple, okay, 3 times. So in 1960, merchandise trade only 9%. Of course, this is already total 22% of GDP in 2017, showing that international trade has grown and become very, very important for countries or the world. Very important for the world to survive. If not, the world won't survive. That's why during the pandemic, the world didn't survive. Okay, the world is there is facing a lot of slowdown and so on. economically, if there's a slowdown, there's a lot of social issues that will arise. I do not know about France, but during the pandemic in Malaysia, then you see a lot of people who struggle to actually survive. They lose their jobs. Didn't it happen in France also? Probably it also happened in France, right? I mean, it's a world phenomenon. And then only you can see whether mankind, humankind values actually shown during that time. But anyway, so world export as a percentage of world GDP is shown here, and you can see the importance of trade. And FDI, you can have, this is a graph showing the FDI relative to the world GDP. Okay, and growth in FDI has been very tremendous. By 2017, FDI equal almost 39% of those years of GDP. Okay, so this is the FDI ratio of world GDP. So 40%, almost 40% of world's GDP, and it has grown. You can get this data from from some what we call reports, but it's just showing that FDI has increased tremendously, which actually resulted into globalization. Globalization cannot happen if there is not much FDI. Okay, it will slow down. Okay, so why expand internationally? Why actually, for example, you mentioned just now when the product that you choose, Norian, which is actually what do you call Nike shoes. Why they invest in China? You mentioned just one factor, which is actually labor cost. Obviously, there must be other factors. There are so many factors that actually considered by corporations to actually invest. Okay, and of course, spending internationally is a strategic issue. Okay, there are strategic imperatives for actually going global, which resulted into globalization, basically. Okay, so the causes of globalization is actually strategic imperatives as well as environmental changes. Okay, so the strategic imperative, the first one is the strategic issues. What are the strategic issues? To leverage core competencies. So, for example, L'Oreal, how do you pronounce that? L'Oreal. Your facial. L'Oreal, okay. Facial is only made in France, but don't want to actually share that knowledge to Malaysians so that Malaysians also look more beautiful. I mean, that is the knowledge and skills that France have, and probably want to share with the rest of the world. And okay, do you want to leverage your core competencies, your skills and knowledge, and your technologies actually? Secondly, to acquire resources. There are explanations for this. Okay, there are skills and knowledge successful for one country. You can expand to further benefit from those skills to other countries. For example, BMW make very good cars. They can actually sell their cars in different markets, but of course they don't want to make it in Malaysia. They can assemble in Malaysia, but they don't want to make 100% in Malaysia. Okay, because we don't have the resources. The engineers were actually able to understand the difficulties and the technologies to acquire resources and supplies. So this is the second one you mentioned just now, Norian, which is actually what? Labor, right? Price and labor are different in different countries. Some places are cheaper, some places are much more expensive. Okay, so that is another what we call the second strategic imperative. So that's why you need to actually expand internationally and expand internationally and acquire that, be able to grow and also make more money and basically profits. To seek new market, sales may increase by expanding to market beyond the firm's home country borders because it can allow growth. Okay, if you want to actually and also share that knowledge, yeah, okay, share that what do you call core competencies. Okay, can see to seek new market. But again, it doesn't mean that you have to go to all markets. You know, not all markets will be able to actually accept the product because it's different on culture, right? Cultures. That's a culture. For example, if you start selling, you want to make a wine factory in Malaysia. We are a Muslim country because we don't drink wine, so we don't. There are, of course, there are non-Muslims who actually drink wine. Okay, so you don't want to expand to that market. You want to expand other products. So to seek new market and to compete better with rivals. Who are the rivals? Who are the, you own an iPhone, both of you. Sarah also iPhone? No. Okay, both of you own an iPhone. I own a Samsung. Okay, so I want to compete in let's that's why iPhone, Apple will always want to compete with Samsung. Who's number one today? I don't know. Who's number one in the world? So you can check that out. So to compete better with rivals. So not conceding to a rival. So they don't want to say that no, okay, I'm not going to expand that. So when one firm enters into a market, Pepsi Cola compete with Coca-Cola. And then what are the three big banks in France? Is it listed just now? The three big banks, Society Generale is a bank, is it? Or so do French allow foreign banks? Does France allow the setup of foreign banks? No. Difficult. Same like Malaysia, difficult. Foreign banks are difficult to be set up because we have our protectionism. Of course, we have to protect our country. France is a country. Everybody want to protect. Yeah. So other firms in the same industry may follow. Okay, so not considering to rival. So you want to. So these are the main key strategic imperatives that companies will actually go global. Just you expand your market. You don't want to actually. And at the same time, these are the forces that is forcing you to actually, not forcing, but you see the opportunity and it's easier to do trade. There are reduction of trade and investment barriers. Then there is trade and investment barriers. For example, last year, the Americans imposed tax on steels from China. Okay, so there is a trade war between US and America on steel products. That's why steel products become very expensive. Okay, trying to protect my country. For example, in Malaysia, importing of cars, there is a very high duty tax, excise and duty tax imposed. I think almost like 200% tax for imported built-up cars, for example, from Germany or from Japan. It's trying to protect local industry. Okay, so there are the general agreement on trade and trade, the World Trade Organization round of talks, the Uruguay round, and so on. We'll look at some of this, but these are forcing. Okay, this is related to the changes in political environment. Okay, and also regional accords, regional like EU. Okay, European Union is actually protecting the Europeans, but now the British actually out of the, they are not European. The British are not European. They are British. they don't declare them. But of course, you lose certain things. For example, you don't have any franc anymore, right? You use euro, right? In France. So you have surrendered your currency and say we are going to use euros. So that is the changes, the environmental reasons, and then changes in technological environment, advances in transportation, easier, faster, changes in communication technology, especially I think one thing, what did you learn from COVID? Okay, what did one big thing that actually you lesson learned? Norian, what have you actually during these 2 years that that you have actually become wiser, or things that you have reflected? Oh, I should do this, or what have you learned? Okay, what one important lesson?
Um, in a business way, I would say that this is an improvement of
Saving our time.
online shopping, for example, like everything
Online shopping. Okay,
can,
online shopping is actually
everything can be online and
Yeah.
not in real.
Yeah,
online classes, online, I don't know, online meetings,
meetings,
etc. Yeah.
online. Sarah, you're Muslim, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dorian, just giving example. I am learning Arabic online. I'm learning Quran online actually. So I have a teacher who is actually living somewhere south of Malaysia, and because of the pandemic, so I read. Talaki means to actually read, and then he will check my reading. So I do it online, which is impossible. Before that, I couldn't think of doing talaki online, but well, alhamdulillah, okay. So changes in communication technology, changes in the way that we actually, and there is a work from home concept, work from home. So we can do work from home. There is a hybrid office today. Hybrid office means you can do, off, from your home. Purchasing. Do you think that purchasing can be done at home? Purchasing officer, can you work from home? Do you know purchasing activities in an office? For example, you work for a company. The job is actually do purchasing. Check quotation. Order things and then supply. Do you think a purchasing officer can work from home, online?
I mean, since they need the informations from other departments from the business, it might be, I don't know.
Not
Maybe.
possible.
Yeah,
I
it
think it's
must be
possible.
difficult.
Possible.
I don't know. I mean, maybe with a lot of organization, like if it's well organized, then yes.
Yeah. You provide because it's database, all the information in the database. Okay?
Yeah, true. So,
and you just process the quotations. You get your quotation from suppliers. You can contact through this meeting. You just call up Norian. Okay, Norian, I want to discuss about your product that you are selling. You're selling gloves. Okay, how much you can sell me? What capacity do you have? So we can negotiate online. Can negotiate online. Previously, I need to fly to Paris and actually, meet the client. Okay, how to visit the factory? Very easy. You bring your camera and go to the factory and show me your factory. This is the what they call metal processing. This is so everything can be done online. Almost. Okay. So the changes in communication technology actually now are probably going to. I think globalization will be much more accelerated. I think. I don't know. I'm not a fortune teller. Okay, but we can do a research on this. Improvement in information processing. That's why there is so many things that actually have changed. COVID have changed a lot of things. Do you have this in France? We have in Malaysia. We have to actually log in or check in QR code in places that we go. For example, you go to hotels, you go to restaurants. You have to check in using these apps.
Yes. We had that before. Now we don't have it anymore, but we had it for months. Yes.
Oh, so
same.
we still have it.
And...
We have it until today. I have my vaccine certificate here in my my Sejahtera. My Sejahtera is that COVID apps in my
yes.
it's well, we have this government who actually not like you. You are very open society. We are just it's a closed society. Okay. And also the transformed global marketplace. Okay. The collapse of European communism. There are a lot of changes. The world has changed a lot. Okay. The end of Cold War. Okay. But today's focus should move from traditional first world markets to emerging markets. The traditional markets like the big, Western, American market, European markets, or even Japanese markets to do business. That's why there are emerging markets. We call it emerging markets. Have you heard of BRIC countries? You know the BRIC countries? BRIC. What are they? So what are the BRIC countries? Remember? Sarah, do you remember?
I think it's Brazil, Russia, India, China.
Yeah, you're right. So this is the emerging markets, because these markets have potential of big population, opportunity for newer products, newer services. Even Russia is considered inside there. But there is another one also, they call it as Big 10 countries. So these emerging markets, but unluckily Malaysia is not listed inside there. Unluckily, we should be inside here. But the world, something wrong with Malaysia. Something wrong. Argentina, Brazil, China, India, Indonesia is there. Indonesia is a big market. I've been to Indonesia many times, and I see the opportunity of this 200 million market. Big. Malaysia is a very small market. 30 million market. Small. Okay. Then they are actually non-high income countries. But imagine if you can actually globalization in the future will actually go to these Big 10 countries. But I think, they miss out the African countries. African countries has a lot of opportunity for, expansion. Okay. See table 1.2. Right. So these are the BRIC and the Big 10. The BRIC population: Brazil 209 million, Russia 144 million, India 1.3 billion, China 1.3. These are the two biggest populated country in the world, and the GDP very small. India is a poor country, but and the per capita is just 1,940. Okay, in Malaysia is about $5,000 if I'm not mistaken. So still low income. No, it's more than China. Okay, I forgot. Anyway, what about the other countries? The Big 10: Argentina, Brazil, Indonesia. Indonesia is 264 million people, but their per capita is still low. Okay. South Korea, but South Korea is not considered as a Big 10. They are already the developed country to me. South Korea is a developed country. Don't you think so? Don't you think South Korea? You are in Korea, so you can tell me whether Korea is a developed country or not. Huh? What do you think, Norian?
Yes, I think so.
Sarah, you think they're developed country?
I think no, it is now. Yes.
Now they are developed country. Okay.
Yeah, I think.
And Turkey, or Turkey, you call it Turkey, but Turkey is, they are in the EU, they are European, or they have not allowed to be in European, not yet. It's a big country.
I'm not sure, but I don't think so.
Have you been to Turkey?
No, never.
No? Okay. You should go.
It's very touristic, and many people told me.
It's a land of civilization. Okay, I've been once, but I stayed there for about like 1 week. Yeah, it's for conference, business and pleasure at the same time. Okay. Even though China is seen to be progressing very well, but there is the challenge of you can read in the back text. You can read later on. a challenge about different regions having different economic developments. Okay, some have a very poor urban areas that actually poor, very poor. Okay, so they face the challenge of trying to actually develop. I mean, most countries will have that. Many countries, not most, many countries, like also in Malaysia, there are the poor states, poorer places, the villages. Okay, the cities are very, affluent. Kuala Lumpur, Penang, and this, flourishing. Okay, but there are places which are actually having, there's a gap, basically. There's a gap in terms of when you have big countries. Same as Indonesia. Indonesia also faced the difficulty of, developing the whole country. Jakarta is very, very, rich place, a lot of economic activities, big businesses, or even the island of Java. If you look at the Indonesia, the island of Java is very, very developed. But you go to some other islands, probably they are not. Okay. Right. Any questions? 11:30 already. Let's see. I don't have time for you to answer this question. What makes a firm global in its outlook? What makes? Okay, so you can. Do you think technology and cultural and political changes affect the orientation of a firm? Norian,
Sorry. Sorry. If Norian
Yeah.
wants to talk, I mean, I was just going to say that, well, I think that, of course, political changes have a big effect on businesses, because it can have an impact on taxes, how they are taxed. So, for example, a country can decide to reduce taxes so that they will attract more businesses. So it does have an impact, and the cultural changes also do, because, well, it has an impact on the organization of the business, of people's, well, the employees' values, the employees' priorities. So I think that the culture has an impact on how the business should be organized. So, for example, in a Muslim country, it would be, of course, better to have Friday free. Well, concerning technology, I mean, it's evident currently, especially now, all businesses have to follow technology development very fast, because it's a necessity. It really is.
Yeah. So you have
competitive advantage.
a Grab, Uber. What about you, Norian? Okay, what do you think political changes affect orientation of a firm?
Actually, I totally agree with what Sarah just said. I think it does, yes, changes the effect of orientation, because
Okay, it's 11:35 already. I'm sorry I take you, maybe you there is a possible answer here. Okay, you read this one. I'll send you these slides after the class. Okay, and you can view the video, and also can what do you call? If any questions, you can actually ask me. We have our group. That's why I created the group, so that you can actually interact interactively. Okay. Right. So I will see you next week. Any questions? Any problems yet?
It's okay.
It's okay. Okay. Right. So I'll see you next week. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
take care.
Yeah.
Yeah,
See you
take care.
next week.
You too. See you next week.
Right.